can be overwhelming going to your first team event, especially so if you spark up a conversation and you start to hear words that you don't really understand. Well, I'm Chris, and in this video, I'm going to try and explain the common terms that is used in Teams 40k. Hope you enjoy. Firstly, let's talk about team composition, or team comp for short. This is just the 5 to 8 lists you're going to take for your team. This can vary from, Death Guard, World Eaters, whatever you want to take. That doesn't really matter. A lot of people are going to ask, what's your team comp? And then you could just rattle off the 5 to 8 lists that your team has. In a similar vein, what lists are you bringing is a very similar other term used for this as well. What's your matrix, or how's your matrix look for the next round? A couple of really common terms you're going to hear at Teams events. What a matrix is a spreadsheet that's usually done on Google Sheets that you get all your team members to fill out, and you go through a few different things. You put in your opponent's factions and you put in your factions, and you usually use a traffic light system like red, yellow, green. When you go to pairings, you have a much better understanding of how the games are going to, how you can pair well. A link in the description below if you want access to this matrix that I've made here. Make sure you just make a copy when you go there. Differential is a common phrase in Teams. As you are scored, not on just how many battle points you score, but the difference between your battle points and your opponent's. The higher you score, the more points you get. The lower your opponent score, the more points you can get as well. So there's different ways to play. Differential is the way that you see these scores in actual, and it's on a 0 to 20 scale. How did pairings go? Pairings is the process at the start of a round where you pair off against another team. I will be doing a video later on a deep dive of how to pair well, some tips and tricks you can do, so hold on for that coming down later, hopefully in the next month or so. Attacker or a sword. This term is used for an army you are expecting to protect in pairings so that it can have a favorable matchup and bring home a big score. Protecting in Teams is a term used during pairings when you keep one army protected and make sure it has to go into a favorable matchup and doesn't have the option of going into a bad matchup. Defender or shield. This is almost the inverse of the last, but the lists are designed to score as many points as possible no matter what army you're going into, so that they're designed very differently than attackers, which are designed to just, usually with more damage and more oppression to force your opponent back. Defender lists or shield lists don't really care about giving your opponent some of the board. They're just designed to score their points, not necessarily to stop your opponent's score. Take all comers is kind of like the middle ground here, where you have some good matchups, some bad matchups. If you can get a little bit of pairings protection, you can go into a better matchup. If you don't, you're still going to bring home some decent scores into your worse matchups and kind of fall into the defender role instead. So they're kind of the ones that can go either way, depending on how they get paired into, and then that's up to your captain or coaches to tell you what kind of game you're trying to play. Bust or bus players. This is used when there is an army the opponent has that none of your armies, none of your factions have a good option into. None of them are favorable, though it's just one army that completely counters your team composition. This happens more often than you would than people would like to admit, but it is something that does happen. In that case, you kind of have to bus a player. This is throwing a player under the bus, right? So the grenade player, right? So someone that's going to probably not have his most enjoyable time, because no one on your team was going to have an enjoyable time into this match. But you choose a player, you let them know beforehand that, hey, this is going to be a rough matchup for you. Just try and bring home as many points as you can. 1 or 2 differential points would be amazing here. And just slap them on the butt and get them going. Try not to bust one player the entire tournament, because it can be pretty demoralizing when you have 4 or 5 games in a row where you're just not doing really anything, and it makes the weekend feel a little worse for that player. So definitely try and bust different players if you have to in different rounds. Finally, we have some terms that your captain or coach may say during a round that you need to know about. Firstly, you have push. If your captain or coach tells you to push, you need to start making some high-risk plays that could swing the game more in your favor. If you're told to push, it means you have to get above your usual prediction for that round. So if you said you're going to get a 10 out in differential, maybe they're asking for like a 12 or 13, try and start making plays that might be higher risk, but have potential to get you a higher score at the end of the game. Usually this is the case because one other team member in your team has started to drop below prediction, so they're using you as the ability to kind of get back to that score prediction for the round. Hold is, again, sort of the opposite here, whereas instead of trying to make high risk plays, you just play it as safe as you can and just try and bring home your prediction, guarantee those 8, 10, 12 points, whatever your prediction was. If you get told to hold, you're just trying to continue on with that prediction. Don't have to take any higher risks, just play the game that you need to play. And those are the basic terms that you'll hear in Teams 40K. Please let me know what you think of this video. I'm trying a bit more editing this time, seeing if that's a bit more enticing for people. These are really just the basic terms. I'm going to go into a lot more deeper dives into the different topics later on. I just kind of wanted to do the first few videos on the real basics. When I go into the more advanced topics, there isn't this kind of buffer that I need to do at the start of every video explaining these terms again. So I can just reference them to this video if they need to know those terms. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment below with what I can improve on or what you'd like to see next. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!